Hi, my name is Charlotte.
And I'm Brandy.
And welcome back to Unspoken Transitions, where we talk about the nuances of adulthood and the transitions and challenges that take place as we get older. So today, we're going to talk about 26 things we learned before turning 27. Brandy is already 27. I'm turning
27.
No, legit. I'm turning 27 in 2 weeks, so I think this is a great lesson for everyone, whether you're in your late or early 20s. I feel like these are all helpful.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy to think that we're like 27. When you're about to be 27, I'm 27. I feel like in my head, it doesn't feel like that.
No, it doesn't feel like that at all for me either. I feel like I was just 21 and I was just 22
Really?
And somehow we're like,
just
no, legit. When somebody was like, oh, 2016 was like 6-7 years ago, I was like, whoa, like,
relax. Let's pause for a minute there. What do you mean?
It's like, yo, chill out. Like, I was just in college. Like, I was just in grad school. So it's crazy how like quickly time goes. And honestly, whatever life lessons you can learn early on, so that you don't have to actually deal with them or work through them better, is better in my opinion. So we can jump into it.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
So first thing that we learned in our 20s, I guess, before turning 27, appreciating the little things. So whether that's practicing gratitude, just taking time out of your day to just appreciate all of the little things. And especially for me, I feel like I didn't appreciate as much as I should have. For example, like my entire family living under one roof, or like I just feel like in the day-to-day you don't really think about those things, and then when you're in your late 20s you're like, wow, we used to, you know, all be together, or, you know, this used to be how life was, and it was so simple back then. So I feel like that's one thing that I definitely practice now, is just like every little thing. I'm like, I appreciate that. I'm grateful for this, you know?
Yeah, same. I didn't think about it because like when I was in like my parents' place, I was kind of just like, I don't want, like, I just want my own like apartment. I want my own apartment. Like that's the only thing that was going through my mind. But it's true when like your parents in the next room over, or like my siblings, like my brother's like right there, I can go in and bother him and everything. Or the proximity, just being in an area where family is like 5-10 minutes away. Now it's like an hour. So like the proximity is so real. The gratefulness, because I was in a loop where it was just like, I just can't wait for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I couldn't appreciate anything in my present, where it's just like, all right, here's a perfect example. I just said apartment. I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to be in my own apartment. I just want to have my own space. And now I'm here. I'm just like, I just want to reach this point in my career, and I just want to do these things.
Like
and
being satisfied, or like taking it for granted almost, like the stage that you're in.
That's a fact. Like you keep wanting more, and there's nothing wrong with wanting more. Like want more, strive for more, have goals. No one's saying to stay stagnant, and like better yourself, and also appreciate where you've come from. Like a year ago you were complaining about something, and now you've overcome that. And yes, keep going for more, but like sit in the present, be grateful for something. Like there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's down to like health. Like you can get up this morning, like you can breathe, you can walk, you have a car, like I don't even know, you have a friend that you can depend on and lean on and everything. So appreciating the little things really does help, and like help you to stay present too, I would say, because I think sometimes we're so far in the future, we just want to keep thinking of like the next thing and the next thing. But it does, for me at least, it grounds you, and it helps you to understand like, oh, life is actually not as bad as like I think it is, even though I haven't reached X goal. So.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, even when like things get stressful at work, but then I'm like, wait a minute, thank you God that I have this job that helps me to pay my bills, helps me to do all these other things that I love to do, you know? So I echo that.
I agree with the job thing, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. There's too much happening. And then I'm like, yeah, this job could be significantly worse. I have a healthy environment. Like I think back around, funny enough, last year around this time, where I was in the worst like mindset, everything in terms of like career and everything, and to just have, I'm just like, wow, God has blessed me so much, because I have the complete opposite of that. Like all the bad feelings, the sadness I was experiencing, like I have the joy, happiness, good, you know what I'm saying, like just peace. So yes, things are gonna get stressful, and nobody's saying to ignore it or just be like, oh, like you're not allowed to like feel it. Feel what you feel, and also don't let that take advantage of the good things that are happening in your life.
Shouldn't overshadow them.
There we go. That's the word. I was like, I can't think of it. The second one that we have is either address the problem or let it go. And what I mean by that is like, yes, we've talked about in previous episodes, like, yes, reflect, think, try to figure out what's going on. But at the end of the day, either address it or let it go. If every single time you text this person, you call this person, you're with them, this problem or something that they did that offended you just keeps cycling through your head, either address it or just make peace with it and slowly let it go, or it's just going to
eat you up.
Yep. Fester, eat you up, not let you have peace, not allow you to move forward, just and I know it's hard to address things. I know a lot of us have confrontational issues, but you not confronting a problem and just like holding on to it is just making your life worse and making your day-to-day worse. So address it or let it go. It's better for your self-growth, development, and everything if you just do that.
Yeah, and I found in my 20s the best way to address problems has been to set boundaries. Yeah, that has been like the best for me.
And if people disrespect those boundaries, or they don't want to listen, or they get upset, then you need to question if that person needs to be in your life or not. I think that is a key thing, because some people do struggle. It's like, okay, I'm setting this boundary, don't enter my room after this time, or like, don't call me derogatory terms, for example. And people are like, well, it's just in a joking way, like, I think it's fine. And it's like, well, I'm telling you I don't like it, so respect the boundary or peace out. Like, that's what it is.
Or you never had a problem with that before.
Yeah, it's like, you were fine with it before. It's like, well, I've reflected and I'm no longer like that. I'm allowed to grow. So please.
Period.
Legit.
Okay. Number 3, you can't make everyone happy. So just stop trying. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to make everyone happy. Your parents, friends, you're going to disappoint someone at some point in your life. And I think especially someone with some people-pleasing tendencies like myself, that's still healing from, it's easy to get consumed by that. And it's just like, you're not gonna make everyone happy.
Yeah, it's true. You're really not. It's just not gonna happen. You can try. People are not gonna like you, not even because you did something to them, but in this life, people will just not like you. Their personality just does not match with their personality, and they will not like you. There will, and no matter how many times you try to please them or figure out what they like and try to, I don't even know, love bomb, gifts, words, I don't even know, but like, if someone does not like you, they don't like you, and it's okay if they don't like you. If it's a coworker, I don't know, people, acquaintances, whatever, you're gonna run into that. So don't try to make everyone happy. Just pour into people that appreciate you for who you are, and then vice versa. Because if you try to mold, because you know some people like to be shapeshifters, so like, you know, they'll try to mold and be the person that the other person likes, and you lose yourself. So don't do that. And then now you're gonna have to spend time healing to find yourself, because you didn't like the fact that this person didn't like you and weren't able to accept that. Like, it's not rejecting you, it just, you just don't mesh. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big one. Like, please just, like, everyone's not going to like you, and it's fine. Like, just keep it pushing.
I feel like that's something that you can guarantee, that not everyone will like you. That's like a guarantee.
Yes. And I didn't think that. I always thought, like, oh, you can, you know, finesse, you can, like, you know, no, just
or let like, it be. Why don't you like me?
Yeah, like, why don't you like me? Like, what did I do?
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's just not you, like you said.
Yeah, and then, or sometimes you'll end up suppressing parts of yourself. Like, you'll be like, oh, they don't like this, or I see that they have a bad reaction to that, so let me suppress it
down.
And like, and I don't even mean like obviously don't disrespect people, but like, it would be like, oh, I really like this, or for example, I like anime, I love watching anime, and sometimes when I mention that, people automatically have like an assumption about me. So in the past, I used to just say, okay, I'm just not going to talk about anime because people are going to think I'm weird, and they're going to think all these other things. But it's just like, I watch anime, I enjoy watching it. If you want to assume that I'm watching hentai, that's on you. Like, you either ask questions, or you can come up with your assumption and frame a picture of me, and that may not be accurate, but it is what it is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The next one is, life is not a competition. Life is not a competition. And don't compare your journey to others. So I feel like we're in a society where you have to, it's like, okay, well, Brandy did this by 27, so I need to be her by 27. Or I see on TikTok that, like, this person is so far and they're doing all these things, and I've gotten trapped in that. Like, I'm still learning this lesson, but it's an important lesson, because I'll go on Instagram and I'll be like, and I'll see like a caption of someone say, oh, I started this fashion page last year and I now have 100,000 followers and I'm getting like 100 brand deals a month and I'm making X amount and da-da-da, and I'm just like, what, like, why can't I be that? I was like, I started this about like, what, 3 years ago? I was like, why can't I like just be there? Then I get like upset and like frustrated, and then
it's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating, and I'm just like, is it me? Is it this? Is it all these other things? I'm like, am I not trying hard enough? Like, don't compare your journey to somebody else's. There's nothing wrong with being inspired, right? Be inspired by other people. Like, look at that and be like, oh, like, I would like this for my life, but don't compare yourself and say like, oh, X person has been here, so I also need to be here, or you're setting yourself up for misery, because everyone's journey is different. Yeah,
absolutely. I was reading something the other day that was like along the same lines, and it was saying that, you know, some people, they had their big break at 16, but maybe like unfortunately passed away or wasn't able to do that when they were like 25. Or for example, someone, you know, had their big break at like 40 and then they lived until 80 and was doing that for 40 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, just don't ever, we don't know how things are going to end up. I feel like just have the faith that things are going to work out and your things are going to come in God's timing. Like, I feel like trying to compare yourself is just useless, because everyone is like on such a different path. It's so hard to compare. But I think especially at this age, everyone's just having like these pivotal milestone moments, or you feel like you're behind almost. Like, for example, with investing, people are like, you needed to start investing at like 2 years old for you to have like $1 million by now. And I'm like, and they're like, you know, you lose money each year, but it's also just being patient with yourself. Okay, I didn't know this. I'm just now learning. It'll come in my timing.
It's like, I didn't even have money like a couple years ago to invest.
Exactly. So,
or you beat yourself up and you're just like, if I knew to invest in Bitcoin, then I would have been like, well, you didn't know and you're not gonna know. And like, it is what it is.
And don't compare yourself to where someone else is in their journey, because you never know how things are gonna end up.
Yes, and on top of that, I think a lot of people are comparing themselves to people in their lifestyles, when not all the time. I never want to say like none of these people are actually living their lives, but a lot of the time they're fabricating. Like, yes, this person, just because we're on like the fashion like type money type thing, yes, this person is buying and has a new get ready with me or a new haul every single day or every other day, but I promise you they might be $20,000 in debt. Like, not everything you see is what the reality is of the situation. And this is coming to mind also because there's a Korean drama called Celebrity, and it's so good, and it's about like this woman who, and it also inspires me, she's like 31, like she just works like door-to-door sales and everything, and she gets herself into the influencer world. But a lot of the people who have 300,000 subscribers and all these other things, like, some of them bought their subscribers, some of them are like exploiting themselves, some of them, like, this girl was like complaining, crying, she was just like, no, like, I can't wear this outfit again because on my live I already wore it. I'm depicting myself as a rich person, so like I can't, you get what I'm saying? So yes, everyone's looking at her and they're glamorizing and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to be her, I want to be like her. But sometimes it's like, you don't know what, again, not everyone, sometimes you don't know what people have done to get to where they are. Sometimes like you don't, like, what you see is not what it actually is. Like, maybe they have a room set up full of designer bags, but right next to it is like their apartment bed with like no sheets on it because they spent all their money trying to create an aesthetic for something. So again, not to discredit people, because some people do work hard and then become successful, but just to speak to, don't compare yourself to others, and everyone has like their own journey and everything. Not everything you see is what is actually a reality. So.
Yeah, oh, that's so true. And I actually recently learned this, like, a lot more people are in debt than we realize. I honestly, maybe I was naive. I really thought everyone had it like that.
Yes,
I really genuinely didn't know. But it's like, just America in general, it's just like everyone's trying to keep up with Joneses. And you said that's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's called Celebrity.
Okay.
Like,
you gotta give it a look.
Listen, I'm not somebody who watches shows.
Good.
It's so good, and I'm not even somebody who, like, you know, watches shows like that or whatever. Yeah. But I got from episode 1 to like 9 in 3 days, so I think.
I think it's good. I think it was good.
And I've been telling friends, I'm like, watch it. But all in all, don't compare yourself to others. Promise you, I'm not an advertiser for Netflix. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the next one is just going to therapy, period. Coming from a former mental health counselor, just go to therapy. Just do it. Especially, I know there are all these stigmas, especially in the Haitian community, around seeking mental health support. Just do it. We all have our issues. I think everyone needs to be in therapy, genuinely. Living in this world is crazy. Everyone needs to be in therapy in some capacity. Get some help. Talk to somebody. And, it's great because that person is, like, unbiased for the most part, or they're supposed to be if they're a good therapist.
Yeah.
So, go to therapy. Get some help.
Yes, go to therapy 100%. And for those who are like, I'm good, I don't need therapy, I'm fine, you probably need the most therapy. You're probably the one who needs to be going, the ones who don't think they need to go.
Yeah.
At all. Because we all have things to work on. We all, like, are trying to grow and change and, like, just become better people. Or if you're not, you should be trying to grow and be a better person, like, every day and everything. So going to therapy allows you to really flesh out those thoughts, or, like, paranoia or anxiety or stressors that you have, like you said, in a safe environment where no one's judging you, and you can really think through things, and you feel like lighter after you go to therapy. You just feel lighter, or like a lot of the thoughts and stressors that you have before you can project, whether it's intentional or unintentional, you're able to process and work through it, and you just feel better. Sometimes, like, I have situations and I'm just like, this is the worst thing in the world, and I come out of therapy, I was like, yeah, I was definitely overthinking that, like I was. And then they just ask specific questions that make you, like, ground yourself, like, oh, is this actually, like, real? And I'm like, oh, it's
Wait
not.
a minute. It just helps you to be so much more self-aware. And what I love about my therapist is he be telling me straight up. He just be like, listen. And sometimes you need to hear that. I don't think therapy is like a substitute for having healthy friendships and other relationships and family and things like that, or a relationship with God, but it's definitely good to have on top of all those things. Yeah.
Because, like we've said before, you shouldn't have one person for everything. Like, everyone is a person, and everybody has their own stuff. So if you are somebody that only has you don't have a therapist and you're just solely relying on one person to dump everything that you have, I promise you it's very heavy. And don't get me wrong, people like to listen, people like to help and support. I'm not saying don't vent to your friends or don't, like, do that thing, but sometimes if you're constantly sharing every heavy thing, it's like, it might be overwhelming for the person, or probably is overwhelming for the person. Just having a safe space where you can process that without feeling like a burden to someone else, because that's the therapist's job. It's really important to do that so that you can have time with your friends and, like, genuinely have time, and it's not like a therapy session and then
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go to therapy, y'all.
Go to therapy. Talk to your friends about stuff, but they should not be your source of therapy. Even if they are a therapist, still don't do that.
Oh my gosh, I used to, like, dislike that sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt like it was like people would come to me for therapist related things, and of course I'm gonna be there, but I think it's like an extent to it.
I see.
Too. So, but I think people learned over time how to be better about that. But there was a point in time where I was like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm at work.
No, it's like a therapist, like, you can tell they're pretty much coming to you for, like, therapy, but, like, not coming to you for therapy, and you're like, I'm literally your friend. This is so, like, biased.
Yeah,
So.
No, for sure.
And I think this leans kind of into the next one. Don't give everyone your time, energy, personality, all of the above. Because, like, I don't know, there is such a thing as oversharing, no matter how close you are to somebody, or at least that's just my opinion. Like, you shouldn't share every thought, like, good, bad, you shouldn't share everything about yourself. And when you do that and everyone has access to you, whether it's a friend or not, it just sets yourself up to not be successful. Because everybody is only going to give the opinion of what makes sense for them, and not necessarily, sometimes it is to hurt, but sometimes it's not to hurt. So, like, sometimes you will share a dream, a goal, something big. You'll be like, oh, I want to start this real estate business next year and make X amount, and because this person does not think that they can do that for themselves, they're gonna tell you shouldn't do that, or, like, that's not realistic, like, that's not possible, or whatever. So you might just be thinking like, oh, like I don't even want to like think about doing it. Or it might be on the other end where they do have good intentions, but they don't, like they might be trying to stop you from pursuing your dream intentionally, and sometimes it's unintentionally. And when you're just constantly taking in stuff and like constantly giving people your energy, time and stuff like that, it can prevent you from reaching your goals or moving in the direction you want to go into, because you're just taking in too many opinions and you're sharing too many things, and like you're not able to self-reflect and actually think about what you want, because everybody else's voices are all
influencing it. Yeah.
Oh,
that was so well said. That was so well said.
And I think that like low-key lost my train of thought. Hold on.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back. But yeah, like you shouldn't share everything with everybody, not even dreams and goals related, but like mental health, everything. You shouldn't share everything, because people don't deserve your accessing your time and all these other things all the time. It can be overwhelming, like we talked about before. And yeah, it's just important not to do that, and have time to self-reflect and think about what is your thoughts versus what other people's opinions are, and being able to separate the two. And if you're always hearing stuff, then you won't be able to separate the two, because you're constantly getting feedback and you can't reflect on your own. Yeah.
So next one that we have is if things don't work out at that job, in that relationship, with that friendship, in that career, that is okay. I feel like we have such high expectations of ourselves, which I know we talked about before, but it's okay if it doesn't work out. I feel like now is the time where that does happen a lot more, because I feel like we're taking a lot of different chances. So sometimes it's not gonna work out, or sometimes it changes. Like you go into your 20s thinking this is exactly how things are gonna go, and then things change, and sometimes they don't work out, and that is okay.
Yep, 100%. Just because you started at one place, or you had this vision for yourself 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, or even last year, and it doesn't work out, it's okay. And you don't, like, it doesn't mean that you're less than, it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything right in life. Like, things change and mold all the time. Like, there's been people who started, including myself, started somewhere and you end somewhere completely different. And it honestly works out, because yes, at like 18 I was like an excited, energetic, ready to go business starter, you know what I'm saying, business starter, wanting to help everybody in existence, you know what I'm saying. And now it's kind of just like, no, I'm tired, so I don't want to even think about doing what I thought I wanted to do when I was 18, because it's just a different time period. So that speaks to your personality changes, your interests change, your wants change. And maybe you thought you'd just always be interested in the things that you were, and like you'd always be the same person, but things happen, you change, and you have to, it's better to accept and move through those changes. Like, just like, you know what, this is who I am now, like lean into it, rather than fight and reject who you're becoming, or it's just going to take you longer to reach your destination. So it's okay. Friendships with people might fall out. Like, you might have a relationship that you're in for so long, and then like it doesn't work out. Like, I think it's called like Bridal Wars or something like that, where they were best friends and she started changing out a person, and her husband, just like her husband to be, could not even deal with it. So he was just like, you're changing to be a different person. But it was just because she was more vocal, like she was less just like compliant and listening and everything, and that resulted in her leaving him. But then she ended up finding the love of her life. So lean into who you're becoming rather than rejecting and fighting it. Let go of relationships that are no longer serving you, no matter how long the length was. Grieve the relationship if you need to, but don't hold on to things that no longer serve you, or you'll just end up in a spot where you're constantly fighting, and you're gonna reach that destination anyways. You're just fighting, and it's gonna take longer. So yeah. Okay, our next one, number 8. So just like we said, like, oh, you can cut people off, relationships, so on and so forth. You have to accept that you're wrong too. You can be wrong. You are not always the victim. You are not always the one who's being done dirty. Like, maybe you said something off-putting.
Sometimes it's you.
It's you. Like, person's not talking to you anymore, or you don't feel the energy is right. You can be like, oh, well, this person needs to address it, or like, this person like is not talking to me, or whatever. It's just like, all right, let's reflect and think about like maybe what you did, maybe what you said, maybe how you're acting that's making that person feel that way. You can address it, of course. You may or may not have a conversation, or maybe they told you and you're not listening. Maybe like it's a conversation that's been said multiple times and they're fed up. So you can be wrong, we're not always a victim. I know social media and everything, like, oh, we're always a victim. Like, no, you can be wrong too. Both of you can be wrong, but don't live in the mindset that, like, this, like, you are always correct and a person is always doing you wrong, and, like, you are just such a great person that, like, this person trying to cut you off, or this person being me too. Like, how could they do, like, no.
Right.
Not what was me.
Yeah. No, seriously. And I think our society paints it that way, because maybe that's like a growing business in itself of, like, an unhealthy self-love of, you know, no one can go against me, and if you do something, or you, like you said, things are off, that is the other person, it has nothing to do with me, and we have to take ownership of our own issues. And I think that's where therapy, a little therapy plug in there, like therapy or other resources can help you to, like, better self-reflect, so that you understand, okay, I am in the wrong here. Let me apologize.
Apologize.
Yeah, apologize, forgive, 100%.
Yeah, say I'm sorry. Don't say I'm sorry that it hurt you. Apologize.
The right way.
The correct way. You know what you're doing. Like, yes, we have pride, we have ego, whatever, but your apology will save a long friendship, or the friendship, or you can keep your pride and have no friendship, so, or relationship, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
and I think on that same thread too is cutting people off isn't always the solution. It's not always the solution, because, like we're saying, you know, sometimes it is you.
Don't be so quick to just snip because
as easy as it is, as empowering as it is,
like, block, simple, done. But you can save and work through a relationship, even if it's something that someone did that was, like, really messed up or really disrespectful to you. I'm not saying keep taking that disrespect, but let's say your friendship has been good thus far and this one thing has come up. Don't put it in your mind, oh, it's over, they disrespected me, because not making excuses for them, but maybe something was off and a conversation is worth having before thinking about cutting the person off. And they might even apologize and be like, oh wow, like, I was experiencing this, or, like, I just was not having a good day. I apologize for doing that, and guess what? You can continue with the friendship. Rather than, you know what you did, and we're done.
Seriously.
And we're done. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's always so, like, dramatic, but I think that makes people feel empowered.
Yeah.
You know, that I have this power to be like, you're not deserving of me. And it's like, listen, we all have our own problems. We all go through it. You know, and we all just have to be gracious with one another.
Yeah, like, give, because we mess up too, so give the grace to others that you would want for yourself. Again, we're not saying just keep taking disrespect and like have, like, continuous instances, like, let's say someone's rubbing you the wrong way, or like they're being rude consistently. We're not saying, like, keep turning the other cheek and get smacked around. We're saying, like, just have some grace and, like, try to have a conversation before you cut them off. 100%.
Definitely. All right, number 9, read your Bible and pray every day, literally. I know that song we used to sing when we were children, like, read your Bible, pray every day. No, seriously, read your Bible and pray every single day. It will just help you grow in your spiritual walk, your spiritual journey, your relationship with God. Just do it. You will literally notice the difference.
Yeah, and I, like, actually read. Don't do what I did, which I would, like, you know, skim the daily verse of the day. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. Checked my, like, box and kept it pushing. Like,
get yourself a
physical Bible with translations if you want, because that'll help you get deeper meanings, like we mentioned before. Bible plans are, like, a hit or miss, but if that helps you to, like, be in the Word somewhat, a good one is Tony Evans. He also has one on the app, like Tony Evans, like, Bible plans, and those are legit if you were looking for one specific. But actually read your Bible, even if it's going through Matthew and just, like, reading Jesus's stories. Pray before you read, ask God to reveal stuff to you, and go from there. You don't need to read whole chapters. You can read half the chapter, you can read 3 verses, but something I learned from Tony Evans is, even if you're reading one verse, make sure you take that verse and see how it can be applicable to you in your relationship with God, and then in life, and work on it. Don't just read and then, what is it, the Bible verse where it's like, oh, a person who looks at themselves in the mirror and turns away and just forgets is like a fool. Don't waste your time just skimming something that you're not even going to apply. So read your Bible, pray every day, your life will be better.
Exactly.
And, like, literally what goes right into that is, when God tells you something, whether it is through reading scripture, whether it is through talking to other people, other people speaking through you, make sure that you listen to what God is telling you, because no matter what, God's going to tell you something, and you can either resist it or you can listen. And if you don't listen, you're going to learn the lesson. It might not be right now. You're going to learn it regardless. So just make sure that whatever God is telling you, you are actually trying to apply it. Learn things the easy way and not the hard way. And when we say the hard way, we don't mean like, oh, God is here to like smite you or whatever, but everything that you're learning, everything you're being told is for your good. So you can either listen to the message and work on it, or you cannot listen to the message, go through what God didn't want you to go through, and now you learned a lesson, and now you're going to listen to it. So don't be stubborn. You heard it right the first time. No, well, maybe. Like, oh, did he really say that? You go to say, like, you felt the conviction. Your heart's beating. You know. So, listen the first.
Don't push it away. Just embrace it.
Embrace it. Take it. It's not. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes
it usually isn't.
It really isn't, because it was. Sometimes it's like, oh, I could do that, and then something heavy comes that you actually value, and you're just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But
for real.
Listen. Just listen. It'll be worth it in the long run. Yeah.
All right. Next one. Your body, mind, and interests. They are going to change over time. I feel like they are.
Yeah.
I was initially thinking they might, but I feel like as you get older and you see more of life, you go through different experiences, that stuff has to change. Unless, no, it just has to.
No, it just
I'm convinced it has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
Like, I think, for example, a lot of us stress, I think there was like a TikTok post about it. A lot of us stress that we don't have the same bodies, or we don't look the same as high school or middle school or whatever. And we're beating ourselves up. And somebody was like, yo, you were literally a child. Like, you were a whole child. You're comparing your adult body to a kid. Literally a kid. Like, you wouldn't be in a high school saying like, oh, this person is so skinny.
Right. Like,
you would be like, oh, like, this is a high school, they're a minor or whatever. So
when you put it that way,
like, it's just not going to happen. Like, especially as not all black women, but like a lot of black women are curvier, right? So we're gonna grow into our curves as we get older, which means that your hips are gonna get wider, which means that you're gonna get thicker in some areas, right? So you can either fight your biological body shape, or you can lean into it and accept it. Like, you are not on, and sometimes, race, culture, all these things feed into it. It's literally in your like genetics. So don't try to fight and be like your high school weight when you're not meant to be like your high school weight. Like, don't develop an eating disorder or like hurt yourself because of that. We're not saying forget all food, eat what you want, who cares, like, your weight is what your weight is. Like, yes, be healthy, strive to be healthy, and at the same time too, don't beat yourself up and create an unrealistic expectation when the reality is that like, that's just not how your body's gonna change. Your mind, just like you don't have the same mindset you did in high school. I hope not. You're not gonna have.
Really hope not.
I hope not. Like, you shouldn't have the same mindset you have in high school as a grown adult. And when I say it's that, I don't mean like I'm 17 to 18. I mean like 14 and like 20 should be day and night.
It's gonna change.
It's gonna change, and that's okay. And don't beat yourself up over it. Like, things happen. We have experiences. We meet people. We mature, and we're less naive, which changes our values and things we believe in and stuff like that. So don't fight that like that.
Yeah, definitely. Have you seen that trending like TikTok effect? I know we always talk about TikTok on this podcast, but where it shows you like in the future with like all the wrinkles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Did you do it?
Terrifying.
You did?
Yes, terrifying.
Oh gosh.
It looks so bad. The only thing that's giving me encouragement, I'm like, my family members are well older and they
look good.
Look anything like this. So like, that's what's giving me hope. And I was like, yikes. What were you gonna say about it?
I was just gonna say that that's like an example of your body just changing naturally over time. I think so many people put pressure on themselves and are like, I have like one wrinkle at 25, and it's like, okay, probably.
Yeah,
like, we just are gonna age over time, and I don't know, I feel like aging too is like a symbol of wisdom and just experience. And also take care of your body in your 20s. I feel like this is a great opportunity. Your body's not going to bounce back like it did when you were in your teens. You know, if you eat something, you might see the effects of it going on. So just be mindful of your fitness and what you're putting into your body and what you're feeding yourself and all of that.
Yeah, that reminds me of, because I was like fighting myself. I was like, I used to be able to eat anything and I was fine. But now, like, it all, like, it just does what it needs. It just goes in all the places. And I'm just like, why? But it's like, okay, I can either accept it. It's like, I can accept this, or I can keep fighting it and then keep complaining and stuff like that. Like, I think, and your body changes every 7 years. I promise you there's a point to this. I am in denial that I may potentially be lactose intolerant. I'm in such denial. I'm like, there's no way. It's not going to be me. But, like, I keep having reactions, and I'm just like, I probably should stop eating cheese.
You just gotta let it go.
But I
just gotta let it go. You know what I'm saying? I feel like everyone is in America.
That's so sad.
It is. Like, I think there's something that, not to go off on a tangent, but there's something when you were like a child that you had like an enzyme or something that could break that down, but as you get older, it's not as prominent.
It can't.
So that's why a lot of people are lactose intolerant. But you could throw down a, like, I used to drink whole milk.
Whole milk, milkshakes. Like,
seriously. No, I'm like, I have not touched a milkshake.
It's been decades.
I refuse.
And you can like feel it, or like you eat too much ice cream and immediately you're like, this isn't working. You see, I'm still struggling. Like, this is a tip for myself. Like, I'm still struggling, but I don't want to let it go because I'm like, well, I used to be able to do it, so like, why can't I do it now? Right. And guess what? It's only hurting me. So
exactly. And there are so many options, you know, like dairy-free products.
It's true, but sometimes
it don't taste the same, but you know, it's an acquired taste.
It sure is an acquired taste. Sometimes, like, you know, you just want an ice cream, like a strawberry cheesecake ice cream. Yeah. And you can't have it, and it's sad, and it makes me sad. But like you said, it's for our health. Yeah, whatever. I gotta get used to it.
I know, and with age too, I know some people like take a lactase pill before they eat.
Yeah.
But it's not you being old, it's like
your body's
just changing in your 20s. So maybe you gotta take that lactase.
Yeah, I got them. I'm just in denial.
So you're not in denial, so you've accepted.
I've accepted, but I have it because my husband has developed it.
Oh, okay. So he's accepted it.
He's accepted it. I'm just like, I'm good. I don't need it. I'm all set. And he's kind of just like, well, you're not good. I'm like, well, I'm good. So I'm still in denial, but
your stomach says otherwise.
Yeah, at Shake Shack, there's like a shroom burger at Shake Shack.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's like a mushroom with like filled with cheese in there. And I was like, it tastes amazing. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna eat that. I'll be fine. And today I'm facing the repercussions of that. So it's okay. I'm working on it.
In the moment, yeah.
But like we said, just reduce it slowly. So that's what I'm doing. But fun fact, if you eat Gouda cheese, it does not have the same effects as...
That's so true, because every time I have Gouda, Gouda does me right.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything to you. It tastes good. You get some smoked Gouda feeling.
Right.
So you can still have cheese, but maybe not the American whole cow. I don't really know. I don't get it. I know Gouda's... I don't know, but Gouda works if you still are on your cheese train. So.
Highly recommend Gouda.
No facts. It's fire.
It's really good.
Yeah, I know we're off on tangent right there.
Let's bring it back.
But this is important. I learned this recently. So your reality is based on your mindset, right? And we talked about this a little bit before with social media and stuff like that. But your reality really is your mindset. So if all you're doing is complaining, all you're doing is talking about sad things, all you're doing is talking about what you're frustrated on, all you're doing is just putting and expelling and saying and consuming negativity, your reality is going to be negative.
Yeah.
That is what it's going to be. Not saying that you're not allowed to feel frustrated, you're not allowed to feel sad and all these other things, but like we were saying before, it's important to practice gratefulness, because although you're going through something hard and that is valid, you cannot allow that situation to encapsulate your whole reality and just say that like everything is terrible because of this and that's it, like point blank period. You can't work towards being a happier person or being in a better spot if you're just constantly consuming and being around people that are always sad or like, you know, negative or like constant. Like if you're always surrounded by that 24/7 and that's all you're doing, you can't expect to get to a better place because you're not even trying to better yourself. You're just staying in one spot. Again, nothing wrong with venting, nothing wrong with complaining, but that can't be all you're doing. Like if you are every single time you hang out with somebody or every single time you hang out with a group of people, you come back and you feel depleted or more sad, or like you're just not in a good space every single time, or you're on TikTok and you're just always, then what are we you're gonna keep getting sadness. There's nothing like, so try to, social media is just filled with things that are like upsetting, although it is validating. Take a step away, try to do something that like actually brings you joy. Like watch, like if you're watching a show and it's sad and everything, try to watch something that's a little bit happier, down to SpongeBob, like a corny Lifetime movie, something.
I'll do, especially when I was working in the counseling field, being a therapist, you hear so much like difficult stuff, just like trauma, and like that affects you to some point. So whenever I would go home, I would be like, I need to create like a happy space for myself, full of like optimism and joy. And I would like, I could only watch happy TV shows that were like lighthearted and fun. And it's so true. And I feel like at a point in my life too, I noticed the shift in who I was spending time with and the effect that they had on me. I feel like sometimes I attracted people, you know, who were going through really difficult times, and as much as you want to say, oh, it doesn't like affect me, you know, I'm just supporting them, or like that negativity over time, it does have an impact on you to some extent. Which is it's hard.
It's hard wanting to support, but also not trying to only be supporting everybody around you who is going through a hard time, because then what does that do to you? So and it's a tough thing. We're not saying like, oh, if you have friends that are like depressed or going through a hard time, stay away from them. And like, nope.
It's expected for you to support your friends. I'm saying more so like, just like people who are just spewing negativity, or like every outcome it was like, or like every situation it's like a negative perspective, and it's like, hey guys, let's like, but you can't always be the one being like, hey guys, let's shift our perspective. Hey, let's shift, because that affects you to some point, you know, because you're doing that all the time.
Because then you get drained. You're just like, oh man, like I always have to be the one to like bring the positivity. I always have to be the one to do this. So you can do that. Like let's say you're talking to some friends and like most of the time it is sad, or like maybe this one time it's like a really sad conversation. We're not saying gaslight them and just like everything is great, but like at the same time too, if there's a pattern of every single time you hang out with somebody, or every single time you're watching this, or every single time you're listening to this, it always ends up being like a negative impact, like you said, then you should reevaluate. Again, we're not saying cut everybody off, but reflect on how it makes you feel, and support your friends, but also take care of yourself and feed positivity into yourself too.
For sure. That's where the boundaries come in too. It's like, you know, life is hard. Like I feel like all of these elements just intertwine with each other, but it's like you can set boundaries with people and also, you know, take space for yourself when you need to, and also like, what are you feeding yourself?
What are you feeding yourself?
You are who you surround yourself with. I used to think that saying wasn't true, but it's so true.
Me either. I was just like, I was like, I'm me, and and the people are the people, and that's it. But it's like, you surround yourself with people. Funny enough, like I've even seen groups where everybody, like let's say there's a group of 5 people, all 4 of them are making $500,000 a year, and the 5th person might not be making $500,000, but they're making 300, or like they're inching their way closer. So, or if you are, funny enough, like even on the opposite, if you're going through a hard time and you hang out with people that are, you know, like more lighthearted, or maybe they're in a better time of their life, and like, you know, you're just doing activities and fun stuff and you're not necessarily focused on that thing, it'll also uplift you. It'll lift you up a little bit, like, oh wow, like this is a great time, like I'm happier, like, or whatever, like, oh, life is not as bad as I think, or this was a great moment in time with but if you're always like surrounded by sadness and like things that are bringing you down, then you're gonna be like, even if you're in a good spot, you might be like, oh, maybe things are not as good, like maybe I'm not good, like, oh, I guess life is bad, I guess things are terrible.
It
so
influences your perspective on life
100%. So your reality is who you surround yourself with and what you consume. So validate yourself, fine, consume what you need to consume, but make sure you have boundaries with yourself and other people to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, so that you can be living a healthy lifestyle overall.
On that note, I feel like that feeds so nicely into our next one. It's don't let people take advantage of your time, your energy, your resources, your kindness. Don't let people take advantage of that, because that is so precious. And people will just they will just take it. And again, we're not saying, you know, don't share those things. Like, those are things that you're supposed to give to others in your life. And at the same time, there's like a limit to that.
Yes.
And people kind of not abusing, but just overextending yourself.
Like, when I try to think, it's like I love being helpful towards people, and I love doing things, supporting and stuff like that. But you shouldn't be like, yes, support with whatever they need, but don't give 100% every time. Like, you shouldn't be giving 100% of your energy, time, resources into that one thing for everything, where you're just gonna have nothing. That's how I feel. So help others, and, you know, set realistic expectation. Like, hey, like, I know you need support with X, Y, and Z that's going, okay, perfect. I know you need support with applying for jobs. I'm going to send you 5 jobs that I think are good. And then they might be like, oh, like, I didn't get a chance to apply. Can you do my resume? No, I can't do your resume, but here are the positions that like I think will be helpful for you to apply. Like, you can support and allow people to stay accountable for their own actions. So you don't need to go the extra mile of checking with people, making sure that everything is all set. You're not their personal assistant. You are not, like, you are their friend, you are their supporter, but like, at the end of the day, it is that person's job to apply for a job so that they can get a job. And if they really want that, they have to work for it a little bit. So, and then also something else that comes to mind is, if somebody doesn't ask for help, don't extend your help. Just like, if they ask you for help, help them, but don't always be so quick to just like, all right, I need help immediately. Let me like stop everything I'm doing and support them and do all this stuff, because sometimes they don't want your help and they're going to do it their own way anyways, and you're going to get offended. So, do what you can, not everything that you can.
Yeah, I struggle with that too sometimes, because I feel like sometimes people don't know how to ask for help. And especially, I just feel like in the Black community, we don't always like know how to ask for help. So sometimes I'm like, people after the fact are like, I didn't know that I needed that. Like, I didn't know how to ask for that. Like, I appreciate you doing that. But I also think there comes a limit. I think there are going to be seasons in friendships and relationships where maybe you have to give that 100%. Like, someone's going through a really tough time. They don't have like any energy, any capacity. But it feels like what you're saying is, once you go beyond that threshold, like, you're giving 150 for like a year. I feel like that's different, as opposed to like a season where maybe someone needs you and your support and your like time and energy. But I think if it's like extended for long periods of time with like no boundaries, and it's like consistently like 150%, I could see that being a concern, because you're gonna burn out.
That is true.
You're so gonna burn out. And some people know that and like feed into that and are like, I know this person is always going to be there for me. And that's hard for kind people, you know, or selfless people, because I think people just take advantage of that, for sure.
That is true. I didn't think of that, like the person like needing to ask for help, like they don't know how to ask for help because of like, you know, childhood things, like people throwing it back in their face, so on and so forth.
It's so common. Like, people just don't know. Sometimes I don't even know how to ask for help, and people are like, I know what you need. And that's why I love the people in my life, because they know what I need before I know that I need it.
That's a real perspective. I never thought of it like that. Yeah, you know what? I'll reflect on that, because it is true. Or maybe ask if they want help for something before you go above and beyond.
Yeah,
and doing
that's
everything.
important too.
Okay.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because like sometimes you gotta ask or give them like an option, because you're right. Like, sometimes people don't want it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't want it, and then you end up getting hurt when they're like, I didn't ask for that.
Or it's just like, oh well, like, you know, I'm trying to support you. This, like, yeah, I didn't actually do this, or like they do something a completely different route just because it works better for them, and now you're getting offended because like, oh well, I like put in the work to like do this, and it's just like, well, They didn't ask for help. You should have asked them, like, if they needed support. That's real.
Yeah. I think giving people options is helpful. Of like, hey, can I help you in this capacity?
Yeah, so, like, would it be helpful if I sent you some jobs rather than drafting a 10-page, like, job listings?
They're like, no, thank you.
Like, actually, this isn't even the field I was looking at, so.
Yeah, no, so I agree. It's so important to, like, ask.
That's true.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that. So ask if they want the help. If they do want the help, help them, but don't expend all your energy, time, effort, your life doing it. Set boundaries with that just for your sake and also for like their sake to have accountability. And on top of that too, like we said, it's true. Some people really are going through a hard time. Some people are going through difficult seasons and they need more support. So it is true. So like maybe you used to hang out and talk like once in a while, but now they need more hands-on, like they're going through something rough, like talking all the time and everything. And at the same time too, how long has this been going on? How are you feeling? And they shouldn't be using that as an excuse to abuse you too, because some people will be like, oh, I'm going through a hard time, I'm going to like
soak it up.
I'm gonna take it all in, and then like, oh, you can't take offenses because I'm going through a hard time. So I think it's also gauging that too, and if you are burnt out and you are tired, and be like, hey, like I'm feeling a little bit, have an intentional conversation. Don't just ghost them, especially if they're going through a hard time. Just like, hey, I just need some time to do whatever. That is true. So use the energy depending on the circumstance. If it is someone who's going through a harder time and it's for a longer period of time, support them, but also don't burn yourself out. And also ask people, do they want help, before you help them, so that you don't feel offended and they don't kind of throw it back in your face like, I didn't actually do all that.
Exactly. And don't let people manipulate you in the process.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And your value also shouldn't be placed in like what you can do for other people. Your value is within yourself.
Yes.
So don't feel like you have to expend yourself to feel valuable in a friendship, in your job, in your career. I just added another another one to the list.
Hey, it'd be like that. All these are like really good tips. But this is long. Okay. We are at number 13. We're gonna have a part 2. So stay tuned and thank you for listening. And
go ahead. No, sorry. I always be jumping. Go.
And feel free to subscribe, like, share with a friend, and send an email to unspokentransitions@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, case scenarios, whatever, if you need it. So thank you.
Yeah, bye. See y'all on part 2.
Bye.